Mark, it's been over 2 months now since the lads had their last game, which was away at Billingham Town. Obviously, the news broke a few weeks back that the season had been voided. How did that leave you feeling, given the fact you had come in and started to turn a corner with the team?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise, I think it was for everybody, this, what's happened, but it's one of them things. I think the one thing I am thankful of is we've come in, got the guys playing well and finished on a bit of a high. I think it's always good if you finish with a win or on the back of good form. I think if we'd been on a slump or carried on the losing streak that the team had been on majority of the season, I think we would have probably been going into the break of the summer quite low. People's confidence down, wondering for next season, whereas I think we're in a complete different headspace now where everybody's had that sort of upbeat feeling and the winning feeling back. So I think hopefully that'll carry people through this difficult time and give people something to look forward to, certainly the players and myself and my staff for the new season.
There's been a lot of talk on social media and in the papers about the decision the FA made about voiding the results from step 3 downwards. What was your initial thoughts on it? Did you believe it was the right call, given the situation the world's in at the moment?
I think so. It's listen, everybody's got their opinions on it, and I suppose it depends what league or what situation your club's in. If you're going to miss out on promotion and you're kind of a shoe-in, or you've saved relegation because of it, so you can flip your hand either way on it. I think it's always going to be a difficult one because it's going to be a good decision for some and not for others. But I think on the grand scheme of it, I think I think they got it right and acted pretty quickly. So everybody knows where we stand, and it's just one of them things that nobody could ever plan for, or hopefully never happens again. But from my point of view, it's just rather than complaining about it and going through everything, it's a case of decisions being made. Let's plan for next season and let's do what our aim is for then and get on with it.
It's one of those where a team at the top of the league have every right to be disgruntled about the decision, because if you look at Stockton, they were on the verge of going up this season, possibly as champions. If you look on the flip side, at the bottom, the teams at the bottom would be thankful for the decision that was made. Although it was pretty close in Northern League Division 1, leagues all across the country, it might not have been that case. So can you see both sides of the argument?
Certainly, it's a difficult one, and like I say, it's a difficult pill to swallow for different reasons, different clubs, different leagues. But again, it's one of them things. I don't think you can point the finger or there's any blame. I think it's been, on a whole, a sensible decision by the FA. The biggest thing for me, it's okay for us speaking like this because we were kind of in the middle of no man's land. It didn't affect us either way, how we finished the season. So I know people can look at it and think it's easy for us to say, and I get that, but I think, they've been put in a really difficult position and they've acted the best way they could. And, it's a case of one of them. It's who reacts to it, who sits and thinks what could have been, or who thinks, right, we'll roll our sleeves up and whatever happens next season, when it starts, however it runs, we'll go and we'll do it again and prove that you're a top team and make sure you get that chance to go up again.
So looking ahead now, it's pretty impossible to actually put a date on when football in general, both Premier League, non-league, across the world, could actually return. Have you had any thoughts about the return of football?
I think you do. You have to, but until we get an idea, or certainly until the Premier League, I think, comes back and we see how that pans out, and obviously the numbers keep dropping in terms of the COVID and what have you, I think it's virtually impossible for us to second guess what's going to happen. So from my point of view, and the team and the staff and everything, we're just kind of playing it by ear and making sure that when we do get news, we're allowed to train, or we're allowed to start pre-season, or we're allowed to start arranging friendlies, that everything's actually set up there in the background. So it's a case of just finalising things rather than starting everything from scratch.
We'll talk a bit about the initiative the club have released, that they released last week. A fantastic gesture towards the NHS and key workers. One of the first clubs in the country to do so. Does that leave you proud as manager that the club have decided to do something like this?
It does, and it just shows, I think it shows people that we're trying to build a club here. Yes, it's about the team, yes, it's about results, but there's a hell of a lot of stuff goes in behind the scenes. We're constantly in contact with the committee and commercial part of the club that we're trying to build up, so we're constantly having Zoom meetings and everything, and it was an idea that was put forward by sort of the director of football, Neil, and as soon as it was mentioned, everybody got on board, and I think it's a small gesture in terms of the grand scheme of things, but I think it's also a big gesture in terms of who we are and what we are. All I can say is, immensely proud to be part of the club that's thought to do that, and even more so the fact that everybody's jumped on the back of it and getting on board. So anything, any small part we can play as a club is absolutely vital. So yeah, proud to be part of the club and proud of what we're doing behind the scenes.
And there's so many brave men and women on the front line, both working for the NHS and as key workers. Have you got a little word of support for them?
It's just a case of, while everybody's sitting wondering what's happening and keeping themselves safe and everything, they're putting themselves out there, every single minute of every day. Every day they're going to work and they're doing stuff. If they didn't do that, it's just wonder what sort of position the country would be or the world would be in. So it's hard for me to put into words how much thanks and support and everything that they've got from me and my family and everybody else, but it's absolutely tremendous what they're doing, and hats off to them, because it takes brave people to put other people's well-being before their own and their own families. So yeah, hats off to them.
Bigger picture for the club now. They've been back in Division 1 for 2 seasons. It's been a battle at the bottom end of the table for those 2 seasons. Going into next season, whenever that does start, what would be your hopes for the team?
Well, first of all, I want to keep a hold of as many of the squad that finished the season with us as possible. I've identified about 3, 4, 5 players that I would like to add to the squad that I think would make with that little bit stronger in terms of strength and depth. We're speaking to people. If a couple of things come off, I'm very confident that I'm not going to. We've got our own targets, which I'll keep in house, because I'm not one to go and shout and bawl about what we're going to do. But I'd certainly hang my hat on saying I'm confident we will not be having a relegation fight coming into the next season, whenever that may be.
I think that brings your confidence will bring confidence to the players and supporters as well, that they're going to be turning up to a game where a team are going to be giving it their all. Not saying they haven't given it their all in the last 2 seasons, but they're not going to be fighting at the wrong end of the table again.
Yeah, and that's my aim. It's people before me's done a fantastic job getting the club promoted, which is probably been the hardest job of all, getting actually over the line and getting into the first division. So there's a lot of hard work being done behind the scenes. I've taken over a pretty decent squad, all things considered. So again, I'm thankful to the guys that were in charge before me. But certainly from now, the way we finished the back end of last season and going into this season, I want to be looking upwards rather than what's behind me,
And was that result and performance away at Billingham Town a signal for what could actually happen next season?
I think within 90 minutes, I think we've got a view of the good, the bad and ugly at times. So I'm not getting carried away with that, but the good certainly outweighed the other bits. There's a lot of stuff we do need to improve on as a team. We went 2-0 up. We should never ever get clawed back into a game when you're 2-0 up, which we did in a scrappy first half, if you like. So there's things to learn from it, but certainly I'm not wanting to look on the downside. I'm looking at the positives in the way we got the lead again, and then we kicked on again and got goals. And the biggest thing I've been impressed with is our attacking play. From when I took over, I felt that was a real weak part of the team, that we lacked strength in numbers and power up there and committing to forward attacks and everything. And from when I took over, touch wood, goals weren't hard to come by. I think we got a penalty in virtually every game, which just shows you the amount of time we're spending in the opposition box to be in a position to get that. So yeah, plenty positives, but you know, I'm not getting carried away. The back end of the season, teams, squads start to, you know, wilt down. People aren't really playing for anything, so you can also get miscued with some of the results that you're playing teams and beating them and they've got nothing to play for, whereas we did, so that give us probably an extra 5-10%. So come the start of next season, everybody's on zero, everybody hasn't played, so everybody starts the season with optimism and take it from there. So I'll certainly be building us up and doing everything we can in pre-season, getting everybody fit mentally, fit physically, and mentally ready to go for we don't know how long the season's going to be, but generally a long, grueling Northern League season.
Confidence plays a huge part in football. Is it fair to say the squad's confidence grew massively in that short space you had them last season?
It did, and again, you know, I'm not taking responsibility for that. You know, that the guys got the results on the pitch, which results breeds confidence. Football's not a difficult game, you know. It's quite simple when you strip it back, and results give players a belief to start believing what they're doing's right. We managed to pick up some great results early doors when I come in, and you could just see players starting to play a little bit freely, starting to shackles off and committing forward, and yeah, they give balls away or they tried things and it didn't come off, but they were trying it, which they probably weren't trying a month or two before I come in, which is what I want to encourage in the right positions, the right areas of the pitch. And I just seen a massive lift from the first game we won to the last game we won. There was a massive difference in everybody's confidence, and like I say, you get results and they started to buy into the way I wanted to play, which is good. And again, they'll only buy into the way I want to play, or they'll only trust me if results come. So I think it's on both sides. I think the results came and the trust came in me, and then they believe in themselves. And we kicked on. We got some good results.
We'll finish this with a word for the fans, if that's okay. What type of team can they expect to watch next season?
Yeah, I think the main message is, my job is to put a good, strong Northern League team out there for them that can turn up week in, week out and know what they're going to get. I want to be as attacking as possible without going too gung-ho. So, I'd like to think there'll be plenty of goals, and the main aim is just get with it be a really good, strong Northern League team, which isn't a 10 out of 10 one week and a 4 out of 10 the next, you know. A really consistent team of performers who when the fans come to watch, they know what they're going to get and get a bit of consistency back at the club.